Shimmy, 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 shimmy.
Welcome to the bridges.
We burn
We
podcast.
burned.
Podcast.
One of these days, I'll actually sing for you, and I'll use real nice voice, but you get real shit voice up until that point.
No, dude, you can get that shit like falsetto,
No,
like.
no, we can't. Oh, god damn it.
You know what I'm saying?
One of these days, we're going to Merriam-Webster the word falsetto, and it's actually going to be exactly what you said, and I'm going to look like an idiot for all 12 podcasts that we have.
There you go. But, dude, I'm telling you, it's going to be that. It's going to be that falsetto and that ring, and then you're going to remember me by the Bridges Burned podcast. And I'm one of your hosts, Mark. And, just want to get the name out there. Mark is a very basic name, but it's Mark. It's very unique to me because that's how people call me. So... Right?
I'm just trying to eat that microphone, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know why, dude. It's so close, but it's so far away. Jesus.
So, Mark.
Yes.
How are you feeling? Do you feel okay?
Is that the internet breaking up? Why are you slowing down like it's fucking like you're trying to jump to a time warp?
I was channeling your time travel book. That's what I was doing.
Oh my god, don't. I can't speak about it until I watch the series, and I will write an email and be that.
I won't write an email. What's the name of the book again?
11/22/63.
11/22/63.
Yeah. But also, with, for everybody in the podcast world, everybody that's listening right now, I do not condone what James Franco has done in the past, but I will not put those judgments on the series because that was in the past. The series was also in the past, but I don't condone any of his actions. So
what did James Franco do, dude?
I don't know. He has some like allegations of SA. I don't really want to say it on the podcast, but he has some pretty bad allegations, which, I don't want to hate the artwork. I can hate the guy, but I don't want to hate the artwork yet. So
okay, all right, that's fair.
All right.
You hate James Franco, huh?
Oh, yeah. If the series is gonna suck, yeah, I'm gonna hate him.
Racist. I don't know why. It's just always got to come back to race with you, Mark. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Whatever, dude. His name is Franco. What are you talking about?
His name is Franco. What? Now you can't be racist to white people? Is that what you're saying?
No. Wait.
I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword for me. If I say one thing and then internet thinks it's the other, it's over, man. I don't want to get canceled too soon. So.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Then.
Episode 3.
Episode 3.5. Yeah, dude. Oh my
gosh,
get murdered.
Oh, man. I don't want to get canceled in episode 3. Oh, tons of fun stuff. All right, so we've already talked about sexual perversion, racism, and James Franco all and time travel in the span of. Dude. We've been recording for 3 minutes. This is going to be an eventful day, everyone.
Oh shit, yeah, dude. Oh my god. We got it, dude.
Oh, so what's up, man? How you been?
It's been good, dude. I just had a pretty, very, very draining. Let's use the word draining work week. The past work week, but it did get me to, that's what it's gonna be like this weekend.
I hate that you're trying to. I hate you're trying to make that a thing. I want
to.
I'm gonna fly back to New Orleans again, just to destroy that stupid button.
Yeah, then I'm gonna get a soundboard with multiple sounds.
Oh dear God!
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no, but it has been a draining. Yeah, I'm gonna use that word. Use it pretty heavily in this podcast. It's been draining for me. It's been something that I had to jump through hurdles and then just try to grip my own steering wheel in life to try to not just be in cruise control, but just try to maneuver through it. So
that's interesting.
But we did listen to a couple things. That? Let's just say I felt like I wasn't. I felt like I was on autopilot, but not on autopilot.
Okay.
Yeah. So I wasn't. I felt like I wasn't in control most of the time. That I was either working or my personal life. It I just skated by, and I feel like I.
Let's not get too deep too quick because these
Okay,
beautiful
okay.
people don't want to get overwhelmed super quick. But I mean, like,
Yeah.
what is it? What is it that you were doing? Like, what was going on this week? Like,
Um.
why did you feel like that? Let's talk the
So
real. Let's talk the
the
reality,
real.
bro.
Okay.
What'd you
So
do? What did you events? What are your other things?
let's just say X production company is in town, right? They're in town with us
Okay.
for the next couple of months. Great people, great set of cast, but it's just one of those things like, man, I'm so glad I never went into the like movie or fucking TV realm or any type of entertainment like that, in a sense that when those people work night and day, yeah, they work night and day, and just to be able to kind of like sync your work schedule with them to meet all
Hmm.
their expectations and needs kind of threw me in a loop, right?
Oh, is that where
So
the
I was it's
craziness
that
of that whole thing has come from?
yeah, this whole
It's
craziness
trying.
plus
I forgot
yeah.
about that. I forgot you were trying to match the moviegoer schedule of who's recording at your hotel right now.
Yeah, but then also not with just that, it's of course we're still a regular
Yeah, all
season
your regular
business.
stuff, right?
All the regular stuff is getting thrown on because we meet clients. The hotel's starting to come back up. We're opening more and more like outlets. For people to either go to the pool, to the bar, and all that stuff. It kind of just it was a little bit overwhelming, but
Right.
I knew this was gonna happen eventually. But just getting thrown, if I was playing darts and I'm aiming for the bullseye, or I was the bullseye and the dart was coming at me, by the time I'm looking, it's not just one dart. It's about 50 darts coming at me at the same time. So
Right.
it's just one of those things kind of just threw Mark
Yeah.
in the loop. So
Yeah. No. I mean that's understandable. What were
yeah.
you doing hours wise this week then?
Hours wise, I was still getting my ample amount of sleep, like 4 to 5 hours of sleep. So let's say we ended up with a 70-hour work week.
That's not
Um,
that's not bad. Wait, it's 70 or like okay. So what is your 70-hour work week entail though? Like how many steps a day is that? Because like my work day is primarily sedentary. Like I'm walking around site every once in a while. I maybe get about 6,000 steps a day, but like
oh, for
if
step
that.
wise, I don't know, like 40,000 steps a day.
Yeah,
Oh,
see, that's
no.
fucking bonkers. So you're
Let's just
you're
say I had to. Yeah, it's
70 hours of running around in circles around this
mm-hmm.
big ass
Yeah,
hotel that you work in, right? Yeah, just trying
yeah,
to qualify that.
yeah. Just multiple floors at once. I can't be at all the places, but I had to prioritize, which kind of led me down into a path that I didn't want to take, but just kind of just exited the other side of the hole. So
Well, I mean, let's let's talk about that a little bit because I like the
okay,
direction. I like the direction that that's going. What were your? It sounds like um, you were having some difficulties just being distracted. What you were just saying right there, right? You had to
yeah,
prioritize some things, going one place to the other. And I can imagine. I've worked catering before. I mean, not in the degree that you have, obviously, but I've worked catering before. I've worked in food and beverage, and I know how crazy those weeks can be, especially when you've got multiple things stacked on top of each other.
yeah.
So, like, um, how is it that you deal with that kind of overwhelming sense of distraction that comes about in that day to day? Because I can based on the conversations that we've had, throughout the day in preparation for this, I can tell that you've kind of got that demon that you're struggling with a bit right now. So like,
Yeah.
what is it that you're doing these days to deal with that?
So what I've been doing is what really helped from our previous conversation was a little everything to me was in a like kind of in a blender sense, to where like I it just got just too much of everything going on at
Mm.
once, to where I kind of took a step back and touched up on kind of doing my how-tos of like making eggs and bacon, right? I had to take it one step at a time, to where I could just knock to try to prioritize the most important thing that needed to get done, that was right in front of me, to where as soon as that was done, I can tackle the next thing. As soon as that was done, I can tackle the next thing. The only thing with that, though, my setback with that was I started knocking things down more and more. But then there's some things that took a little bit more time, which my sense of urgency kind of started to diminish. It kind of started getting blurry again, all over again. So, yeah, I was trying to fast pace through everything, but then I started losing the smaller details of some things. Like,
Right.
I'm
Tough. Well, it's tough
I'm trying
keeping
to
that.
send,
It's tough. It's tough keeping that constant attention.
Yeah.
When you're trying to, right. That's a difficulty about making the bacon and eggs, right?
Yeah.
Is it's a task that seems incredibly simple, but keeping your attention on that task for the entirety of that task, and then allowing that to give you access to the next thing that you're doing, that's a lot easier said than done. It's an incredibly difficult process to actually just sit and do one thing and focus on one thing and then get to the other thing. On top of that, you get like kind of snowblind too, where you focus on one thing too much, right? And like what you're saying, it takes longer than you expected, and you begin to lose that sense of urgency, that sense of concentration, and then it's like everything falls back apart all over again. So
so that's how it was for me with that work week, and it kind of did. It seeped into my personal life. So like, as most of you that have been listening, we've talked about like my personal goals of trying to become a power lifter and trying to be into the sport. My work week kind of just leaked. Like all the chaos that was going through my work week kind of just leaked into my personal life of like training and being prepared for my next competition, which kind of also was, I had to drop back down to where the bacon and eggs kind of notion of me doing this lift, preparing for this, and it just took so much time, and I started realizing like, well, man, now I'm in here for almost 3 hours and I've only done a few things. Right. So that kind of threw me off. So that was the thing. So
that's actually hysterical that you bring that up, because it was this week I started trying to consciously record what it is that I'm doing throughout the day. Okay. It's funny, we watched a video on David Goggins today, and he did talk about this, which I thought was kind of hysterical. But I have been trying to move with some greater intention in things. Okay. I've been trying to really buckle down and spend my time more wisely. And part of the way that I've found success in doing that recently has been journaling and chronicling things. And so I've been really trying to keep a really strong to-do list of what it is that I have to do. Every time something comes up, I add it to that to-do list, and then I can go back to it, right? But what I've added onto the to-do list, because I've done that for a pretty good amount of time, what I've added to the to-do list was a done list, a complete list. Okay. So time stamping stuff as I move about them, and then looking at how I'm spending my time, right? Okay. That is way harder than you think than it is to remember.
Dude,
just to remember to do that is already like, it's a weird thing to put your brain into, but to constantly to have those checks in there is really revealing. Like, there are times when I spend 30 minutes and I go back to write something in. I'm like, why did this take me 30 minutes to do this? What was I doing? I wasn't even present for that 30 minutes at all. I just wasted that time. And like, I was doing stuff, but
and then you're trying to recall it, and then you're wasting another fraction or segment of your time on trying to do that.
Right. And it was like I was spending my time doing 7 things at once and not getting any of them done. Right. Like you start one task, right? You start one task, and in the middle of that task, another urgent task comes up. So you start that task, and in the middle of that task, another urgent task comes up. And then you remember that you got to go back to the first task. So now you're doing that. So now you've got 3 things on the table at once on top of all the other stuff that you have to do. And then a 4th thing comes up, and it's like, that has to get done right now. So you do that one to completion, but now the other 3 things are lagging. It's like that.
Dude.
That is
welcome to our lives, guys. Right. Welcome to our lives.
That level of stress, though, is self-inducing completely, right? It's my inability to actually compartmentalize the things that are the most important and to knock those out, right? That's the moving with intention part. That's why I've started tracking how I go about getting tasks done, right? Because I figure that right? We talked about this before. You want to be a student of yourself. Part of being a student is understanding the process of what it is that you're studying, right? It takes me a certain amount of time to do a certain activity.
Yeah.
I have a vague idea of what that is off the top of my head, but I don't have a precise notion of it. And if I want to move more precisely, if I want to move with more intention, I have to have a greater understanding of what it is that I'm capable of what it is that I want to do on a day-to-day basis. And so you got to build, right? I'm not perfect at it right now. It's taken me about till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock to remember that I have to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
But like, I'm starting to improve at it, and it's starting to help. It's starting to being able to look at what you're accomplishing and saying, damn, I didn't feel like I got anything done today, but I got all this done today, right? That's a really like empowering. I'm starting to find real empowerment in that when I can write those things down, and it's helping me be more present. But it sounds like that's, that you were kind of getting a grasp on that throughout the week, or you got a grasp on it in the later part of the week or today or something like that?
Yeah. So the later part of the week, I started I was able to start reining in and like really trying to like tighten it up, because it's because the way it is, it's kind of like, if I had to put this in my work sense, like if I had to put my work cap on right now, it's the start of a function. Let's say 5 days, right? I give this day 5 days. This plan is 5 days. The most troubling part and the most, let's say like the most troubling part is the beginning part, right? Setting everything up, getting everything together, making sure it goes out without a hitch. Now, if that function, let's say breakfast, lunch, and dinner, lasts all 5 days, the first day is the hardest.
Right.
So then it starts easing into it, because it becomes it just becomes more and more, well, I guess in a sense it gets easier because it's the same thing every day. For me, it was towards the end of the week. For me, I started having more reins and a full grasp of it, like, okay, I need to tighten up and realize like I can't just spend multiple things all at once, because I'm spreading myself out too thin. And now I'm spreading myself out too thin at the gym. I really need to dial it back down and focus on this, how I already was before, of like my routine. My regiment was everything to me. It's like, okay, if I spend a certain amount of time on this, I know I can complete that. Let me complete that, and I'm going to touch up on this already. Once I'm completing my first task, I can already start rolling into my second task and start overlapping, and it becomes more of like, the wheels on the train are starting to turn.
Okay, so check this out. Check this out. I think that you're hitting on something here that is pretty cool. So our podcast talks a lot about figuring out how to people, right? How to start the journey of being your best self, of being whatever that means for you, right? Not the stupid hippy dippy version of my best self and I don't know. Maybe that is for some people.
Maybe, but for us, it hits a different note.
Right. I don't want to get too wrapped up on that point and lose yours. Right. So like you're talking about this 5-day event, right?
Yeah.
And the thing you just said was the hardest part about the 5 days is the first one.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
Tell me that that's not true for these last 3 years that we've been dealing with. The hardest part of those 3 years is not steamrolling through stuff. It's not being in your routine. It's not being in the gym, right? It's developing the routine. It's figuring out
how to
what to prioritize, what to move, how to get how to start, right? So I think that's super useful in talking about what you're referring to there, is that the main challenges that you had, right? The most difficult part was getting everything rolling. But as you started to move through it, as you started to get used to the routines that you were developing, you started to get more comfortable. But as you approached the end of those 5 days, right? What happens? As you approach the end of that goal, you start to get antsy again. You start to realize that you're losing those routines. You start to realize that things are changing and that they're not necessarily changing in the way that you thought that they would, right? And that the goalposts are shifting, right? I was so relieved on day 3 to know that I was going to get to day 5 and it was going to be over with. And then you get to the beginning of day 5 and you're like,
Well,
oh
what do I
my
do
God,
next? Right?
like I've just got this next event and now I got to think about that while I'm trying to finish this other one. Right.
Yeah.
I think I'm hearing that as
Yeah,
that's where you
you're
are
hitting it
in
on,
your
yeah.
life. Right. That's where you're feeling like you're at in your every day to day, not just at your job. Right. You're
Yeah,
feeling
because I took that hit at the gym, which was just like, it's rounding out, and it's like, what's the next thing I got to do? Oh my
Right.
God. I'm looking at my phone. I'm looking at my program. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Now I have to like stress about this. I'm on my last set. Now I got to do like set this up. I have to like redo this, redo that. Yeah. So yeah, that's money in the bank right there. That's that's right there. You know what I'm saying?
I hate that fucking button. No, but
Yeah,
I mean, really, that's the same place that I've been at for the last couple of weeks, or I was at a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I should say was, and it works as a great analogy for me too, which is why I think it'll work for other people. Is that as you approach the places that you want to be, as you start to get closer to the goals that you realize, or that you're trying to realize, you realize that, I gotta stop saying the word realize, you come to understand that those goals are more complex. The things that stem from them, the movements that are created from going towards those goals are way more complex than we give them credit for. For instance, I was talking with Angela earlier this week, and I had watched a video. Well, actually, it wasn't a video. It was just I was reading something. It was like a Google article that had popped up about. No, that's wrong. I was searching for the size of the Earth compared to the size of the universe, like a scalable
Oh,
deal.
like a scalable thing, so you can like, okay, yeah,
Right. And I
we're
wound up
like a dust.
I wound up finding an article on like the scale of the Earth in comparison to the scale of the known universe, and I was just reading. I wound up diving way deeper into this than I had originally intended, but I think that's kind of the point with most of this stuff. And there was a discussion within that reading about clusters of planets and stars and things along those lines, right? So you start off with Earth and the solar system, and then you move into a cluster of solar systems, right? That are the immediate stars and planets that surround our planets, with the combination of both, planetary objects and stars, and then that moves into clusters within the galaxy, right? And that moves into our galaxy in and of itself, our Milky Way. And then as you move out of the Milky Way galaxy, there are superclusters of galaxies. So galaxies that are spread, that are kind of conjoined, that are much closer together than they are in relation to other things. But there's clusters of those galaxies, and then you move outside of that, and then there's clusters of galaxies, right?
Yeah,
and
that's
it's like
a lot of fucking cookies, bro.
Oh man, it was so. It's ridiculous when you really start to get into that conversation, when you really start to try and comprehend how small everything is here. But that's not the point. The point is when you start. For me, when I started walking this journey, I felt like I was at the very furthest outset of the known universe. Right? I was looking in to my universe. And I was only seeing so many lights, like so many things. Yeah. And I started to move towards them because they were very clear, right? There's so much darkness, there's so much space, there's so many it's very defined when you first start moving. And you just start moving at all towards a light, towards whatever. And as you approach it, you realize that, oh, that's not one light. That's a combination of all these other things, right?
Right? Yeah, and
then you get
the Vegas Strip.
Right. You get closer to the next thing, to the next supercluster. And you're like, oh, That's not one light. It's a cluster of all these other things, right? It takes a couple of different trials to get to the next cluster of things before you start to realize that there's always going to be a cluster when you get to a goal, right? This intention, this belief that I think that we have that getting to a goal is going to change the way that we are.
Yeah.
When the sum of our experience says otherwise, right? Think about like this. Think about every experience that you've had in your past, right? The best, the worst, everything that you can remember. Can you remember any of that with the detail that you have about the moment that you're in right now? Is there anything that you can think of in your past that you can recall with the same memory that you have right now, the same capability that you have right now?
No.
No, right.
Nah, no. It's just
No.
It feels like a lifetime ago though when you
exactly right.
Like
it's a fleeting memory. You remember it like a dream, right?
Yeah.
There are aspects of it that you can recall, but there's the certainty of it is not like, right, I could knock on this table and know it's a table. You're not going to have that with a memory, right? So no matter how good or bad the experience was at that time, all that you remember right now of it is the same fuzzy level of non-clarity, right?
Yeah.
So we have this belief now that if we move in the future towards a goal, towards something that we have in mind, that's going to create us or make us into a better person of a better version of the person that we are today. If we move towards that with enough fervor that when we achieve that goal, it's going to change everything, right? It's going to change all the worst parts of who we are, and we're going to forget what it's like to suffer and feel pain and do all these other things.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. The sum of your experience, you just said right now, right? The sum of your experience says, I'm not going to remember these other things.
Yeah.
So when I get to that goal, there might be a point where I move and a month ahead of that goal, I don't remember it anymore, right? And then that goal becomes just another moment in time, right? The value of what you derive from that goal, though, the journey towards it, that's the part that you got to focus on. I mean, that is everything. As far as your day to day, right?
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing too. That's where like going back, like that's how like I felt like that's how my work week was. Like I'm so like moving on to the next goal or the next task that I'm trying to complete. I'm missing the little details. I'm missing the experience of like, well, I really do like. That's why I jumped into this career, is because I love what I do. So, putting that like, the analogy you just put together like really just hits that note for me. It's just like, well, I'm missing the finer details of the things that I'm doing as I complete this task before I move on to the next one, because it's the little things that make me who I am, right? Make like that unique touch that I put on these on the functions or the things that I'm doing at work. And then also, into my personal life, the little things that I do, my rituals that I do right before I do a lift or like to hype myself up, I'm missing those things. And I'm losing that hindsight and the goal now because everything's a little bit blurry. So for me, it's just one of those things like, yeah, that made a lot of sense for me, and I hope that made a lot of sense for other people, what Alec just said. So.
Yeah, I hope that anything that I may say makes sense to anyone.
No, it makes total sense, because if I had to pay, $9.95 for a Patreon to listen to Alec, I would pay $9.95 on somebody else's credit card to listen to Alec. So.
The $9.95 is kind of steep. It's like a $1 membership. It's not even a membership at this point.
No, we can't PPV it the whole time. No, dude, it's a solid $9.95, and people are gonna, that's how you market a business.
Bro, the OnlyFans is $9.95.
Nah, I have multiples of those. They're not $9.95.
Oh, dear. Let's talk about that, Mark.
Oh no. That could be another time. only exclusively on Patreon. But
Oh man.
yeah,
So
but yeah.
so
Other than
that's,
that,
it
like,
sounded like I don't know. It sounded like a pretty good theme this week, right? That lack of
right?
sense of agency, right? The
No, urgency.
well, urgent. No, no, not. It's not urgency, bro.
It's
That's
agency.
it's agency. Okay, so urgency is feeling rushed and feeling like you need to get something done in a specific timeline is
Mm-hmm.
a subjective. It's a subjective exam. It's subjective. Okay,
Yeah.
my feeling of being rushed is completely based in my perception of the thing that I'm doing. Okay. Yes,
Oh, yeah. That's not. It's
there
not
are
urgency.
no. I mean, it's just there is urgency. There are times where you will have to move urgently, and it might be for work, it might be for your personal health, it might be for a loved one, it might be for something else, right?
Yeah.
But again, the urgency is something that you're trying to avoid. It's something you're trying to escape.
Yeah.
It's escape and avoid. Those are the wrong words. You are trying to be better all the time, I think. You're
Mm-hmm.
trying to move more intelligently all the time, more wisely all the time, and
Yeah.
that moving creates, I don't know, a more strategic version of yourself that doesn't have to move as urgently. Or when you
Okay.
do have to
Yeah.
move urgently, you're doing it with more grace than you are with just rush, right?
Yeah.
There's a
Okay. I
there's a
get. Yeah.
strategy and a planning to that, right? You don't
Yeah.
lose your sense of agency. You lose your ability to look at A, B, C, and D and prioritize and say, this is the thing that's the most important to me, just because you're feeling rushed, right?
Yeah.
You want to get out of that mindset of feeling like the next thing has to get done all the time, right? That creates, for me, such a level of chaos in my life and such a level of disruption at every single fucking stage. When I'm able to let go of feeling rushed, right?
Yeah.
Here's an example. In the morning, I've stopped looking at the clock. I've
Okay.
started I've started waking up at the same time, right? 6 a.m. And I know how long it takes me to do everything I do in the morning now, right? I know how long it takes me to go to the bathroom. I know how long it takes me to get ready, how long it takes to shower, how long I need to meditate for, how long I need to do yoga or a physical activity in the morning. I know how long it takes to get my lunch together. I know how long it takes to get my yoga bag together, how long it takes to drive to work. Okay, I have a full understanding of exactly how long all those things take. So what I did was I built in enough time in the morning where I could get all those things done comfortably without having to look at a clock, and I started doing them. And that has given me so much stress relief in the morning, I cannot even explain it to you. To not feel like I'm rushed to be out the door, to be on time to work, to get
Right.
something done that I was supposed to have those 2 hours of time to myself. I left 45 minutes early today to work.
Jesus.
Just
Well, I feel
because
like.
I was just
Yeah.
done with everything. I just
Yeah.
there were certain things that I didn't want to do today, and I finished early, and I was like, I'm just gonna leave for work, and so I did, and I left for work, and that is, it was totally fine. There was no hesitation. There was no like, oh, I don't want to sit around and do nothing at home or whatever. It was just nice because I was so stressed. I was not stressed out, and I was relaxed about it, right? My mornings used to be constant rush. I would wake up at the last possible second.
Yeah.
I would put in as little time as possible into myself, and I would like be trying to beat the clock to work all day long, and it didn't work for me. That is for me, right? Urgency versus agency. That
Yeah.
is acting more wisely, acting with intelligence, acting strategically, and understanding what it is that you need to get done, and then moving with intention towards getting those goals done, towards
Yeah.
understanding the steps of my day, right? Of what I have to do. And that's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
When you're at work, you know the majority of the time what it takes to
Oh,
get your job done, right? You're a
yeah.
manager and you're an educated guy who has worked in that field for a numerous amount of years, and you're very good at it from what every person I've ever had the pleasure of speaking with that's worked with you has said. So you know what needs to get done. What you don't know is exactly, I guess, when, right? Like
Yeah.
you have a framework of catering I have to do this, this, and this at this time, but there's going to be curveballs and all sorts of shit that's
Oh,
thrown
of
into
course. Yeah, you get all this shit like get thrown at you, but I feel like where you're leading to, or what you were just explaining, it's like I feel I have that also, because like while you were explaining that, I'm thinking about like, well, how do I get my morning started? And I do all these things. The only thing is, I think I haven't let go of that the concept of the either time and like the sense of urgency of feeling rushed. Like I feel like I'm rushed, but by the time I leave the door, it's like, man, I do have 45 minutes of free time, and I've already expended all the time that I needed to, right? Like, and I don't feel rushed when I leave the house. Like I wake up every day the same day, the same time, and it's just like I feel like I just haven't separated those two things yet, to where it's I've completed everything that I needed to do. I think it's just I'm just still kind of wound up in the morning. I know I just haven't separated those two
well,
things yet, but I'm
I'll
coming to realize, I'm like, yo, I have that extra time though.
I'll tell you
Like,
that I didn't just start doing that, right? Like it wasn't
yeah,
just something that became present to me.
yeah,
It's taken me years. Well, I'm not of, I guess not of seriously trying, but at the same time of it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to
yeah.
have a good morning routine, and it's something that I've
Mm-hmm.
been working towards slowly for like the last 6 weeks,
Yeah,
and I'm really starting to see progress with it. And I really didn't start to see progress with it until I stopped chasing the time,
yeah,
until I stopped trying to get everything precisely timed and sleep as long as I could, right? Um, once I just reconciled the fact that, you know what, I don't need to. I think this is a good way of framing this. Once I made the decision that it was more important to act for tomorrow than it was to just try and squeeze more time out of today, there was a shift in my
oh,
ideology. And this is kind of what I mean by this is I created more time for myself in the morning by going to sleep earlier at night. Okay? That's a very simple thing to do,
yeah.
right?
A simple thing that anybody can like learn, or like try out,
But if
right?
you think about that, what that is making a sacrifice today for the best version of you to give access to the best version of you tomorrow, right? Going to bed while not finishing my movie, not finishing that conversation, not watching that YouTube video. By committing to going to sleep, I'm committing to waking up. And for me, there's a profound sense of purpose in that, because I'm committing today to the rest of the days ahead of me. And what used to be for me was I would push everything off until tomorrow, right? I got to
Yeah.
get this thing done. I'm going to do it tomorrow.
Yep. That's
I'm
how
going to
it
get
was
this
with
thing
my gym
done.
bag.
Right. I'm going to get this thing done. I got to do it tomorrow. Right. Like packing your yoga bag or something like that. Now it's, what can I do today to make tomorrow better? And what are the goals that I have today, right? This is one of the reasons why I like this morning routine so much, is because I spend time in the morning and I focus on what is it that I want to do today, right? This is again, the moving with intention thing that I've been trying to focus on. I was in my coaching session this week, and we decided to start to narrow my attention to pick out two things that I really, really want for my life, right? Monday I had this class, Mark. I had this session, and then today we listened to Goggins, right? This is what Angela says to me on Monday. She goes, what you need to answer, the question that you need to answer is, when you're on your deathbed, what is it that you want from this life, right? as the last thing that you do, and it needs to be short because you may not have the breath to explain it, right? What do you want from what it is that you have? When you get to the end, what was the point?
Yeah, what was the point of it all?
David Goggins said the exact same thing today, right?
Oh my
with
God,
the chart.
his is fucking beautiful.
His version of it was the chart, right? The chart that God or the universe or whatever your representation of, if you have a representation of the afterlife, it was whatever that entity is that's looking at your life, right? It's got a chart. It's got a list of things that it expected you to do, to be. It expected you to be a 250-pound man who works as an engineer, and it expected you to go to college and do all these things. But
if you just took that extra time, you could have been, there's a sidebar on that list is like, well, you could have been a world-renowned podcast host.
Right.
And then all this other stuff if you just took that extra time. Well, yeah, that list.
I know. We're not doing a great job.
Not doing it
right. We're not doing it justice, but okay. But this is what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
We are not experts on any of this shit by any means.
Yeah, I feel like we should put a disclaimer, but people should understand.
We are not experts at this, right? Our strength and what we want to bring out into the world, what we want to bring out for each other is the direct experience of going through all this stuff, of watching the video of David Goggins and listening to him talk and feeling inspired and talking about why we feel inspired by it, right? What we can do in our day-to-day lives, it's going to make us move closer to being a David Goggins, to being a Jordan Peterson, right? I'm not content with just listening to these guys. No. I want to be that guy. I want to be able to conquer every fear that I've had. And I want to turn around and I want to be able to tell people about it. Right? That's the fucking whole point here, is to be able to do that. So when we talk about these ideas and they sound like shit, if you want to go watch, this is what you should do. Look up David Goggins, and he was on Impact Theory. It's a brand new video. It's like 2 weeks old. Go and watch that. And just, if you want to have your world rocked, right there. Go spend an hour there, and I swear you will be better for it. But like this chart. This chart is the definition of everything that you were expected to be. And do you want, when you're at your final review, when you're in front of God, when you're in front of whatever it is that's judging you at the end, do you want to just be what it expected you to be, or do you want to exceed those limits? Do you want to exceed those expectations? Do you want to surprise the thing that wrote that monologue about it? He says it like this, like, I know everything, right? And you surprised me. I had to write your story down. I had to write your story down as you lived it, right? I want that. I don't know if it's realistic or not, but I want that. I want that goddamn bad. I want to live my life right at the edge all the time, and not in a chaotic way, but I want to push who I could be right up until the very end, and I want to be the best version of myself, because I think that it brings me joy and it brings me peace to do that. And maybe that's not the case for everybody. It is the case for me, for sure. I forgot what the fuck I was talking about before we were talking about David Goggins' life chart. Angela. Right. She asked me to narrow these two things down. I haven't done it yet because it's only been 2 days, right? We don't see you again for another 2 weeks at this point. But I think that's driving a lot of my focus on moving with intention, on narrowing down who it is that you want to be. And it's important. It's the same thing that you're talking about with work. I have to prioritize goals. I have to prioritize certain activities in order to get things done at all. Right? Like what I was saying, if you're doing 7 things at once, you're not getting any of them done. Yeah, you're just floundering. You're just
spreading it out. Yeah.
Right. And the point of, you're not making, I mean, you are sacrificing, right? You get to a point where you have to make a sacrifice of, I've got these things that I want for myself, and I know that I want them, but I can't achieve them all at once. So I've got to choose. I've got to choose to righteously move towards one and believe that intention to move towards the goal is going to actually benefit me as a whole. It's going to move me forward towards the other ones, even if it's not clear right now how it's doing that. You have to strategize. You can't get stuck and just say, I'm content with doing 5% of what I could be doing in 6 different things, as opposed to doing 80% of what I could be doing in one.
Right.
Because you can make up so much more time there. You can bring yourself with so much more focus and clarity and dedication and presence to completing that one task, and you can master it, as opposed to just understanding.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. You're putting the most, going 110% of mastering one, so it's, it leads you into the next best thing, or the next foot forward that you need to put or master. So,
yeah. No. That's good. That's good. No. Because it's like, talk about that. Talk about what you mean by that. When you say that like that, right? When you're mastering one thing, how it reveals.
Well,
other
it
things.
reveals that greater. Yeah, it reveals that greater scale, right? Like, it's like, well, you're stuck. You're stuck at a place, and you're pointing at all these things, right? You're pointing like, I want to do this. Well, when you kind of just narrow it down, and you're making that sacrifice, you're like, well, this is gonna benefit me. I'm gonna take hold of it. I'm gonna take ownership of it. I'm gonna be held accountable for it, and I'm gonna put all my time and effort mastering this. And then once you start getting closer and closer to that goal, it starts revealing all the things that that you already wanted. Right. It starts coming back to where, well, all the things that I wanted, this, and this, well, it came with the whole package. I just needed to narrow it down.
Yeah, no.
So
no, seriously, don't even change on that. That just gave me fucking goosebumps. Straight up, seriously. The ability to take on one thing at a time. Okay. I think that most of the time we view the single-mindedness as a weakness in the society that we're in today. We view people that move and appreciate and take care of one thing slowly as like hands off, because we're so used to constantly being involved in 75 things at once. We can't even compartmentalize what it takes to just do one thing. Right?
Yeah.
We don't even understand the value of just doing one thing.
Yeah. And that's a huge struggle that you see every day too, with multiple people, or like just the society in general.
Right. We were just talking about ourselves feeling lost when there's too much going on at once. When you're trying to take on too much at once, all that it does is make you feel lost. It makes you feel like you're bogged down, like you're not getting anything done, even though all you're doing is constantly doing things. Right? The beauty of focusing on one or two things at a time is that I don't even want to do that. Focusing on one or two things at a time reveals so much more than you expect by just going from point A to point B. When you pay attention to that thing that you're doing with as much vigor as you possibly can, you start to see all the things that touch that one thing, right? Like when we were talking about making the bacon and eggs last week, okay? When you're present with just being there to make the bacon, right? What does it take to make bacon and eggs? I've got to go into the fridge. I've got to get my ingredients. I've got to pull them out. I've got to put them on the counter. I've got to make space. I need pots and pans. So those are dirty. I've got to clean some. Now I've got to go and clean. Okay, well, I'm going to need my soap and blah, blah, blah. And there's a process to every single step. But when you're paying attention to it, it's almost funny, right? It's evident how to clean a dish, how to make bacon and eggs. But when you're actually focusing on every single part of it, you start to realize you're like, oh, well, the counter's dirty. Oh, well, there's other dishes that need to get done, right?
Right.
There's seasonings that I want to put on this, and maybe I want to make something more than bacon and eggs. You start off with that process of just the bacon and eggs. and then it starts to expand into other things,
Yeah.
right? What I think that you want out of that process is you want to try and shut off all those other things and make it through making the bacon and eggs. Finish and go sit down and eat and enjoy your meal. And after you're done with your meal, you tap back into those things that were popping up and you say, what's the next thing that I can address? There were things that became clear and evident during that period of time. I can focus on those because they're there for me. They're right there for me. And then you grab one of those things. Okay, I'm going to clean the dishes because that was something that I recognized during that period. And then you just clean the dishes. And while you're cleaning the dishes, you'll notice other things. And if you keep doing that, you start to move forward with a purpose of intention behind what it is that you're doing. And you're moving consciously towards goals instead of just being a puppet and following whatever the fuck it is that's going on around you.
Yeah. It's just, oh my God, you said it so perfectly. Well said, good sir. It's like, I with those things that you could be possibly doing, like with just that example, it's like you're doing so much more. You're learning so much more. You're adapting to that environment instead of just like, oh, here's duplicate Mark doing 75 things and I'm just lost. I don't know what else to do. Right?
How many times do you just do shit and 30 minutes later you wake up and you're like, what the hell was I doing for the last 30 minutes? The goal is to stop. It's to stop doing that. There are certain things that being on autopilot for is great, right? Personally, for me, driving, that's an autopilot thing most of the time for me. I pay attention to it, but for the most part, I am listening to an audiobook or doing something like that. But the task is mundane, and there's not a lot for me while I'm driving. And I feel like there's a monk yelling at me somewhere right now about saying that out loud. That there's always something for you in the moment. But I think realistically, there's not a lot for me as I'm driving. And I think that I can apply some other things to my learning process that enhances where I'm at. You don't have to be making bacon and eggs all the time. Not when you start. I think that you want to learn how to do that. You want to learn how to take yourself out of all the noise and just be with where you're at right there. You don't have to live that way forever, but you want to be able to live that way whenever you want. That is power. That's a power that you develop of your own mind.
Dude.
To take that concentration and say, enough, right? Enough with all the noise, with all the bullshit, with all the hateful things that I'm saying inside of my head. I'm just going to get quiet and I'm just going to sit down and I'm just going to listen and I'm just going to pay attention. And I'm going to figure out why I feel like this, right?
Yeah.
That's the making the bacon and eggs. That's the meditation. That's doing these things. That's taking the time and paying the fuck attention to who you are and what you want, right? And then you can start to move with intention. Then you can start to move with clarity and you can say, this thing right here is bothering me. I'm going to take care of that. And as you solve that, it shows you another couple of things that might be bothering you. And as you pull away those pieces, right, as you cut away the bramble bush in front of your path that's blocking you from being able to move or see or figure out where the fuck you're going, as you start to take out the sections, the small sections of that bramble bush, light starts to peel through and you start to be able to see and move, right? Getting rid of all the bullshit helps improve your focus. It helps improve the clarity of who you want to fucking be.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, it does for me.
Yeah. I mean, it does for me. It definitely does for me. It's like being able to unlock more than just, 40% of what you're doing, right? Like you don't want to leave that, well, it starts doing a little bit of this. You're clearing the path of like that negativity, like that's holding you back, that's pulling you back. Like, you're not going to be good enough for this. You're not going to be able to complete this. Why not? It's like you're playing this wicked mind game with yourself, right? It's the worst possible version of yourself that's telling you, man, take that break because you're not going to be able to do it. Maybe you can come back to it, right? And that perfect
You're not strong enough.
Perfectly.
You're not strong enough
you're
to
not
lift
strong
405.
enough, right? Hey, don't say that, dude.
You can't do it.
I
No,
did.
but that's what I mean, right? But that's...
it's one of those things that and it kills me because I realized it, and that also is like a hard notion of like this percentage thing of like the 40% rule, right? That 40% rule of like this great man, David Goggins, and I'm probably not gonna do it justice, but hear me out on this. He believes, which I also now believe, that your mind, the full capacity of your mind, how people work and how I work and how everybody else works, you're only giving it 40%. Right? You stop. Like when you feel like that the voice that drags you down, you're not good enough, you're not gonna get this, better luck next time, take a breather, do all this stuff. That's your mind capacity is at 40%. You've only completed it at 40% because you kind of have to push a little bit forward, right? It's not facing all your demons at once. It's that, hey, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to do it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to push through it. I don't care if I fail. I don't care if I fail now. I don't care if I fail 5 minutes from now. I don't care if I fail 10 minutes from now. Fail, but I'm still going to attempt to do it. Once you finally attempt to do it, you pass a little bit of that 40% mark. Then you get that taste of it. You're like, okay, well, I can go a little further. Okay, then you start pushing further. And then now you're pushing back at that demon like, fuck you, because I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going until physically I cannot go anymore.
Right.
And that's what I learned, that this crazy thing that, if you just keep pushing forward and you're picking at these little things that, you're completing, like, it's getting there. That fucking daunting voice behind you that's creeping up, like, it's not there anymore. It's just like, it's fleeting in the distance.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it's incremental, right? That's the whole part.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of that 40% rule is that's where you start, right?
Yeah.
You start at only being able to achieve 40% of what you're actually capable of. And when you recognize that, when you start to recognize your limitations, you can start to push on those limitations. You can start to achieve 41%. 42%. When those voices kick in, you can tell them no. And you can start to build up a tolerance to your own bullshit, right? It's what he talks about. I'm going to phrase it this way because this is how David Goggins phrased it, but he talks about the bag of fuck.
Oh, yeah, dude, that's a big bag of fuck.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is basically the bag that contains all your fears, all your inadequacies, all those dark voices, all the things that hold you back from being who you are. And if you want to move forward on this journey that you're on, if you're tired of standing still because you're carrying too much shit around with you, you've got to start reaching into that bag and start dealing with the demons and the things that are inside of it. One thing at a time. I personally don't think that you want it to be random, right? I don't think you just want to reach into the bag and pull something out. I think that the way that you do this, the smartest way that you do this for yourself, is to get quiet, is to get patient, is to get honest and say, I'm going to pay attention today. I'm going to pay attention for the next week, and I'm going to figure out what's eating at me. And if it's obvious, great. If it's obvious, write it down and start moving towards fixing that problem. If you're like me, where you're at right now, where you've been traveling this road for a while and it's not so obvious anymore, you got to get more quiet. You got to pay more attention, and you got to get more strategic about it. You have to sit with yourself, and you have to start to learn how to master your mind. And you have to, for me, this is why I'm so focused on this bacon and eggs crap, is by concentrating on one thing at a time, it starts to become much clearer where the inadequacies lie with what it is that you're doing. I'm not thinking about doing 19 things at once and why I can't get any of them done and why each of them upset me. I'm thinking about one thing. And if something presents itself during that one thing, it's very clear. And I can take that and I can pull on that yarn and I can unthread what the hell that problem is, or get to the where it's like, that's what I've been dealing with. That's what I've been avoiding. That's the thing that's been gnawing at my freaking brain the entire time. I don't know what the direction is. I'm staring at my feet and I'm trying to walk up a mountain and I keep tripping and going, what the hell is wrong with me? I got to pick my head up. I got to look. I got to gaze a little bit higher. I got to try and focus on what's in front of me as opposed to trying to solve every single rock and puzzle and foothold that's directly in my path. I got to have a little faith. I got to trust a bit, right? It's an exercise in very much so in letting go and very much so in staying present. It's a weird thing to talk about until you start to master it, because they sound like two separate things.
Yeah, letting go and being present. What the fuck?
But it's not. It really isn't. It is. The letting go is an acceptance of the way that things are, and the being present is an acceptance that you don't need to change them. That they're good. I can be. You know what? I can be good with this today. Right? When I'm in my darkest moments, I can look back with full presence at the rest of my life. This is why the journaling, I think, is super important. But I can look back at the full presence, and I can go back to a point in time and say, am I happier today at my worst than I was 3 years ago at my best? And if you can answer yes to that question, you're doing it, baby. You're doing it.
Holy shit.
Even when you're feeling your worst, you're doing it. And that gives me goosebumps just to think about that, because that's the same thing. I had that revelation a couple of weeks ago where I was listening to an old voice recording of mine from like 4 years ago, and I was talking about the worst time in my life. And that was 6 years prior to that.
Yeah.
And I was in that voice recording. I said, all I want to do is move past that event. I want to stop living in that moment like it's something that it defines who I am. And I was utterly hysterical like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I listened to that, and it made me feel free. Like, it gave me lightness to think that I used to be so much, even in the midst of the misery that I'm in right now, I used to be so much worse off. There used to be so many more things that bother me, and they don't anymore. Now the things that I'm worried about are retrospectively small. It's just I'm not grasping everything that's around me. I'm not grasping the absolute freaking brilliance of the presence that I'm in right now. Like,
right.
Sam Harris earlier today had one of his moments. I sent it to you and I sent it to Theron. And he basically says, remember who it is that you wanted to be years back. At some point or another, everything that you have right now, you wanted then. The goals, the dreams, the aspirations, you're moving towards those things. What are those things in your life that you wanted back then? And when you got them, did you realize that you moved the goalposts? Did you realize that you weren't content with where it was that you were aiming at? And when you got there, you forgot that that was the goal?
Right. Oh my God, dude.
Like,
I had so many goals. That's just.
But think about where you are. Think about everything that you've accomplished up to this point. It was everything that you wanted to be to where you're at today, right? You've moved with intention.
And some of this stuff I didn't even think I wanted it.
Right.
And it just became like a fucking passion.
But like,
right? It just.
Are you the point? The point that he's making there is, are you actually happier today than you were then? Did they bring you what you wanted, right? And if the answer is no, why is that? Maybe it's because you're not being present. Maybe it's because you've forgotten what it felt like to be the lesser version of yourself, to have those inadequacies. We're constantly setting these goals like 6 months ahead, right? I always think in terms of 6 months anymore.
Yeah.
In 6 months, I could do this. In 6 months, I can be this. The problem is that every time I set a 6-month goal, a week later, I change it. You can't achieve that. You never appreciate the 6-month goal because it's always moving. It's always something else. You have got to try and find the ability to appreciate where you are so that when you get to the next goal, when you set a clear intention, when you set a clear goal and you achieve it, right? Now you can appreciate it. This is what the being present is. To be able to turn it on and to turn it off so that when you have moments of genuine victory, you can be present for it for as long as you can. It might not be more than days, but you can be present for it for in every single second of it. That to me is every reason why I meditate. It's every reason why I work on myself as much as I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm watching these videos, I'm meditating, I'm focusing on everything that I do because I think that there is a purpose and an intention that is important to everything that I do, because I think that I'm important, because I think my life is important, because it's unique being alive.
Yeah.
Just being alive. Like, in the universe, life is unbelievably unique. We are not even certain that it exists anywhere else. We're fairly certain because of how massive it is, and the conditions that exist here exist other places, but we don't know. Yeah. What we do know,
you just can't. Yeah.
What we do know is the Earth. Okay, this is what I got to. In the scale of the known universe, what we can see. Okay, this shit blew my mind. Right, whenever you talk about the size of the universe, how big is the universe? Right, the known universe. It's about 14 billion light years, because that is the farthest that light has traveled that we can actually see. Right? At 186,000 miles a second, that's the speed of light, we are able to see, right, because a light year is a measure of distance, we're able to see roughly over 14 billion years out into the cosmos from end to end. Okay? This shit blew my mind. The cosmos expands so fast, though, that we're actually only able to see a small fraction of it. So what we actually mathematically think is that the universe is closer to 96 billion light years end to end. I think that I'm getting that correct, but I could be mathematically fucking that, okay? So,
well, I believe you.
So
I fucking believe you. That's a big fucking number.
The size of how big we think 14 billion light years is now, how big the universe is now, how staggeringly large it is, it's only a fraction of the size that it actually is. We're actually only able to perceive a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction at any given time. Stop looking for answers all the way the fuck out into the universe and start trying to just focus on the little space that you have between your ears, because it's already fucking complicated enough. There's so much going on. There's so much. It's so big. You can only control such a small portion of where it is that you are. And the fact that you can control any of it, right, in those 96 billion light years of space, we are the only thing that we know of that is currently living. That's alive. That's doing this thing called consciousness. How fucking crazy is that? It's insane. Your life is a gift. Every single second that you're here is a gift. And when you start to live with that intention, when you start to live with that purpose and that clarity, you start to actually believe that. You start to actually value that. And then you can start to really appreciate why the fuck you're here and answer some questions about who you are and what you could bring to the world. Just ignore the questions about how small that is in comparison to the size of the universe, because that shit tripped me up for like 2 years, bro. I'm not even playing.
Dude, you just straight up, like, I just felt like I was just listening to Bill Nye, and it kind of just fucked me up, dude. Like, I had a train of thought, and that train left the fucking station, my guy. Like, I'm thinking about him, like, 97. Like, it felt like one of those math equations. Like, for those of you who've ever watched 21 Jump Street, and they took that fucking drug, and he just started... That's my brain was like that, and all I could think is 4.
All I can think is
that's the number 4. Right there is 4, dude.
It gets so much. It gets so much worse when you actually start to try and put math to that number. 97 billion light years. Okay, so like, dude, 1 second, Jesus. 100. Okay, so watch this. The Earth is, I think, roughly 29,000 miles in diameter. It's in between 26 and 29. Yeah. Okay. In 1 second, right? If you're moving at the speed of light, you would circumnavigate the Earth 6 times, roughly. 5.5, 6 times.
In a second.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's all the way around the Earth. Okay.
In 1 second.
In 1 second. 1 light year is the span of time that it takes for our sun to rotate around our Earth to rotate around our sun 1 calendar year in seconds. Okay, I don't know how many seconds are in a year, but
That's a lot.
look, I'm gonna put a quick Google to this.
Oh no. Oh no.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh God.
Shit.
All right, that's a math equation.
That's the visionary of life right there, dude.
31,536,000 seconds. Okay. Oh, where'd you go, Mark? 536,000 seconds. Okay. That's 1 year.
In a year?
That's 1 year. 98 billion years. 98
I wish.
billion years. It is not even. It's not even comprehensible. It is so.
No.
And it's infinitely expanding. Yeah. Oh no, it gets worse. Physics and astronomy are fascinating and terrifying at the same time. But it's like, I don't know. I just think it's so fascinating to me that we get so wrapped up in who's got more likes on social media and what this person thinks of me and what clothes I should wear today. And we get so wrapped up in dictating our own happiness based on the values and the systems in place by our culture and other people. And we take for granted so often how fucking beautiful and unique we actually are as human beings, as individual entities. Like how beautiful your mind is. Why are you trying to please all these other people and not starting with pleasing yourself? Why are you looking for all these other answers in all these other places and not putting in the time to look for them where you're at? I was like, it just, that is everything. That is everything to me. It really is. When you start to believe in the actual reality of the universe, in the actual reality of things, there is a absolute beauty to what it is that we are. And I think that as someone who's alive in the span of time that we think the universe has existed, in the fraction of a fucking blink of an eye that you are around, you owe it to yourself and to the rest of reality to live to the best of your ability, to exceed those expectations, to blow that chart away. Because what other solution is there? When you think about the gravity of where you are, you either give up or you either give up and go home, or you go for the stars, right? That's your only two options.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, I guess you could do a whole bunch of other things, but that would.
Yeah, no, but no. You can't sell yourself short, because if you do a bunch of other things, you're probably gonna just go teeter totter, because eventually it's either you go to the 100 or you stay the fuck home.
Bro, what happened to teeter totters?
You know, what do you mean, like teeter totters?
Yeah, how many times do you see a teeter totter at a playground anymore?
Well, the last ones were taken away that were on the border, so those were the teeter totters that I saw on the border.
What border are you referring to, Mark?
Let's not get into that, but that's the last time I saw the thing. See, I am a victim of the social media, so it's just like I realize like I shouldn't be trying to please other people. I need to please myself. Let's stick to that.
Teeter totters on the border. What the? I don't even know what that means. It's just hysterical to actually think about.
Oh, they're seesaws, not teeter totters, dude. They're called seesaws.
Seesaws and teeter totters are the same things, bro.
Are they?
I think so.
I mean, I feel like teeter totter is more of like a sexual innuendo than a seesaw.
All right. So on that beautiful note, teeter totter is more of a sexual innuendo. For the love of God. Okay. So what's the breakdown? What's the finer points on the end of the day today? Right. Start to pay
focusing.
Pay attention. Pay attention to the puppet strings. Okay. Social media. All these things that people tell you, the expectations that you set for yourself based on what people tell you. the goals that you set for yourself that aren't honest, but they're based on things that you think you want because of the world that you live in, right? Those are your puppet strings. Start to look at the puppet strings. Start to pay attention to what moves you in what direction. When you get pulled by Instagram, when you get pulled by your parents, when you get pulled by your boyfriend or your girlfriend or someone at work, pay attention to those strings. And watch what happens when you start to eliminate them. Watch what happens when you start to free up your joints and you're able to start moving. Feel that flexibility. Feel that freedom. Remember it. Write it down. Move into the next one. Cut another string and keep paying attention to how many you have. And you'll be surprised after a while that you're not as much of a puppet as you thought that you were. You'll start to discover that you've got some agency and some ability to move on your own, and you don't have to just respond to everything that's going on around you. You don't have to just react. You can choose every single part of the day that you're going through. Your workouts, your morning routine, your night routine, what you do at work, what you prioritize, how you dance, how you don't dance, how you sing, how you look orange.
Trying to set all those examples in once. So this is an interpretive dance of you explaining our recap for today.
I
So
love
it's just one of those
interpretive dance.
it's just
Do it,
like
Mark.
how you dance, how you not dance, how you move, how you puppet string.
Do the puppet.
It's a lot of stuff.
No. You got to pop, lock, and drop. Yep. There you go. Yeah, no. Yep.
Oh.
Do the pop, lock, and drop. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I thought you were Asian.
Race.
I'm sorry.
Only on Patreon.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I definitely don't.
Yeah, dude. It's that end goal that we want. I mean, not what we all want, but it's that goal that we want to try to achieve for ourselves. It doesn't have to be super far out. It doesn't have to be 96 billion miles out. It just has to be right in between your ears. As far as you can see in between your ears. I said that wrong, but I'm trying to see my ears. You can never see your ears unless you look in the mirror. But is it really a mirror in your ear? So.
Oh my God.
That was profound.
This is precisely why I don't let him talk more. This is like.
That's why I'm the co-host to the co-host, dude. This is just like, dude.
Oh my God, that's so fucking funny.
If Alec was Howard Stern, I'm the other guy.
No, that's not it at all.
But the other guy's fucking funny, dude.
That's not. I mean, you are fucking funny. I'll definitely give you that. No, it's yeah, it is about focusing on the pivotal parts of your life and realizing that more than just the goals are pivotal, though. The goals are important. The goals are milestones. They're lights along the path where you can look back and you can go, God damn, that's how far I've come. Look at me, boy. But they are not everything. They're just markers in the night. They're just places to say, ding, I tapped that button, that cash money button. Thank you.
There you go.
I tapped that button, and now I can relax in it. Now I can be present in it for a little while, and I can live here for as long as I need to and move on. And know that I have to move on to the next thing, though. It's not about getting complacent when you complete. It's about getting clear-headed. It's about acknowledging it. It's about accepting it, and then you move to the next one. But yeah, I think that's a pretty solid place to wrap. I feel like I've talked a lot.
Oh yeah, dude. And I've listened a lot.
No, you.
I mean, I'm still trying.
You did
to
very well today. You did very well today.
I know.
I was like, you see,
Yeah,
and this is gonna be a testament, and I want everybody to pay attention to this. As we go through this, both of us are gonna get better at this. We're gonna free up. We're gonna be able to discuss more. There's gonna be less ums and F-bombs and all sorts of pauses, and right. We're gonna be more open. We're gonna talk back and forth, and we're gonna have counterpoints and points. It's gonna grow.
Yeah.
We want you to stick around, grow with us, learn more about how it is to just be a person. That's what we're here for. That's what we want to do for you. Like I said before, we're not experts. We're just taking shots at this fucking crazy thing called life and hopefully stumbling into some wisdom along the way. And hopefully you will too. Maybe you won't, though. That's the reality of the situation.
No,
okay, bye, everyone. See you later. No.
Bye. Have a good time.
Don't die.
Yeah, but if you want to see us shirtless and do this podcast, follow us on Patreon, okay? I'm going to set it up.
Yeah, I was going to say,
okay,
also
bye.
what you can do is right before you do that, you have a delicious glass of Johnny Walker Blue.
Whoa, I thought that was like intro music to Johnny Walker Blue.
I should have just
left
I should have just left it playing, dude. It was my phone alarm went off. I didn't forget about you, Johnny. You're still my one true love, and one of these days, we will be together. We will be together. I'm gonna have to get another bottle of Johnny Walker Blue because people are gonna start realizing how actually often I drink that, and it's not gonna do good for the sponsorship. I have to make it fluctuate like I'm an alcoholic.
Don't give away the trade secrets so soon, man.
Oh, yeah. Damn. That's probably true. I'll just get sugar water and turn it brown. Okay, bye, everyone.
All right. See ya.